Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Bella Yunita. Today, I would like to present the textbook or the books that I have read before. So, um, this book is a biography, and the title is Thomas Edison in His Own Words by George Sullivan. So, and the book was a biography, but it wasn't just about his life, but the invention of the other things. This book tells about his background and known for things, and Thomas Edison was one of the famous, I mean, he is one of the most important inventors in the history because Thomas Edison not only invented a lamp, but he also invented a movie camera and projector. And he was one of the first people that produced films. I must say that I got totally impressed by the fact that he wanted to create what the world needed. And he said in his own words, and I mean the author wrote in this book by Thomas Edison own words. He said that I found out what the world needs, then I go ahead and try to invent it. With these words, Thomas Edison explains how he developed ideas and turned them into useful inventions. And it made him the greatest inventors in the American history because his invention almost 1093 was patents granted. And of course, we must be think that he was a great at school, of course. And but the fact is, he wasn't patient to memorize lesson, and also his friends insult him at school because they think Thomas is retarded person. And therefore, after that, Thomas quit at an early age from school, and he continued by his mother. So his mother taught him at home. In addition, her mother would read Charles Dickens to him and make Thomas become familiar with Shakespeare's. And among the books that he read, there was an elementary science book that the title Natural Philosophy. He was 9 years old by then and described it as the first book he could understand. Still in his childhood, he had a scarlet fever which might have caused him a partial loss of hearing. However, he never let this disability hold him back and stated that stated that he wasn't easily distracted because he couldn't hear much. In his teens, he started working on the railroad and had a huge interest in the telegraph. And of course, he built his own telegraph system and sent messages in Morse code. Later on, when he introduced the idea of modern research laboratory, which many companies use today, he would call his workers makers and himself the chief maker. Working for him was difficult because he wanted his employee to work as hard as he did. This working long into the night and weekends were common things. He liked sleeping late and reading numberless newspapers. And then, what about his love? What about his love life? Edison met Mary Stilwell through one of his employees in 1871. He hired Stilwell and courted her in a different way. He would visit He would visit the shop and stand and admire her. Thomas taught her that Thomas taught her the Morse code, and when he called on Mary at home, he talked to her in a private by tapping dots and dashes in her palm when her parents were around. And Edison had 3 children with her. Despite the fact that he loved his kids, he hardly saw them because he was always involved. He always busy with his invention, with his project. And by the way, when he invented the electric lamp, he said there would be an exhibition of lightning on New Year's Eve at 31st December 1879. Yes, over 300 people flooded Menlo Park. Menlo Park is a Thomas Edison laboratory and were fascinated by the lights on the trees leading to his laboratory. After some time, his wife passed away and he fell in love again with Minna Miller, who was the daughter of a wealthy manufacturer from Ohio. He proposed her using the Morse code by tapping this question on her hand, like, "Would you marry me?" And then he married with Minna Miller. And on 21st October 1929, Americans celebrated the 50th anniversary of the electric lights, and it was called Light's Golden Jubilee, with the presence of Henry Ford and other important people. Edison recreated the experiment of the electric light during the ceremony, yet he turned deathly pale after his speech, and he had diabetes and stomach ulcers, and he passed away on 18th October 1931. And the author, George Sullivan, he is the author in this book. He has written over 200 non-fiction books for children and young adults on a wide variety of topics in 2005. And his books that the title Built to Last was honored with the Orbis Pictus Award for outstanding nonfiction for children. And George Sullivan is the member of PEN and the American Society of Journalists and Authors and many more. He lives in New York with his wife. Of course, I really like these books because these books are written in a way that is easy to understand and are full of pictures, illustration, and graphic. And when I'm reading these books, I really enjoy it because the choice of words was easy to understand and made me want to keep reading it. And the story is presented interestingly because each story is in accordance with the chronology of the events experienced by Thomas Edison. And the story in this book is very complete, like starting from Thomas Edison's childhood, the story of his family who had to go bankrupt, and Thomas Edison's miserable adolescence, even the discoveries and research that he did. This is very interesting because the biographical stories in these books are written from Thomas Edison's perspective. It looks like Thomas Edison story telling you something and you listening him. And Thomas Edison Menlo Park laboratory, Edison and his worker experimented with electric lighting for more than 2 years, and Edison said And I like this quote. The trouble with others inventors is that they try a few things and they quit. I never quit until I get what I want. I like these quotes because even though at the time Thomas had a had a gloomy had a gloomy moment, but Edison had never thought of giving up, and he's still trying, even though sometimes the invention failed, but he still try, and he doesn't afraid of failure. So it motivated me to be like him. So I have to working hard as he did. So I recommended these books for you all who watch uh, who watch this view, who watch my YouTube channel, because I really like this book so much. You have to read. I really recommend it because it had many quotes and really motivated. So that's all from me. I'm so sorry if I do a mistakes during making this video. So that's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.